Hi everybody, John Mather from Caressius Productions here. Welcome to our live broadcast on creating blocks for Headway Themes. So for starters, we're going to look at how to create the basics on a WordPress plugin / Headway block, and how to create the basic architecture and be able to design one and upload one. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to download a few files, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to create a block that allows you to create buttons that will have all these different myriad of effects. So you can see we've got color selections to go, we've got some animation styles, we've got some icons in there, etc., etc. So we're going to jump in here, we're going to download that, and as you're following along, I'm going to share these links. So when you click on that, click on download the zip file. Then we need to head over to Font Awesome. Once again, that's on the GitHub repository, so we click on download there. And then if we go over to my personal GitHub, we can download a blank template, so we can download that one there. So I'm just going to close these off now that I've got my 3 files, and this is the WordPress page that I'm going to be working in. So you can see at the moment there is no content created. So first thing I want to do is open up my block template, and I'm going to get all those files besides the .git attributes, and I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to my top. I'm going to create myself a working folder here, which I'm going to call Headway Button Block. And in there, I'm just going to paste those in. Can I just ask whoever's online to mute their microphone, please? So then what I want to do is open the Font Awesome folder, zip file that we downloaded. In there we want to go to the CSS folder, and we want to download this font-awesome.min. Now when you're downloading CSS files or JavaScript files, jQuery files, and you're going to be using them in your websites, always work with the min file. Now in this case you can see the size difference, there is no difference, but normally there will, and quite often there will be, especially when you can't talk JavaScript, there will be a file size difference. So we always work with the min file because we want to keep it as small as possible. So we'll copy that one, we'll jump back over to our button block, we'll create a new folder in here, and we're going to call that CSS, and that's where we're going to add all our CSS files. So we'll paste that one in, and then we're going to do exactly the same thing with that hover. Open our hover zip file, go into our CSS, copy that min file, go back to our desktop, go to our button block, go to our CSS folder, and we'll paste that. So working in our button block there folder, we should now have all our block options and Headway template block PHP, and our icon PNG files, and then a CSS folder with our Font Awesome. So I'm just going to rename this template block to button block, because that's the block we're going to create. And now we get to start working with our code. Now we start getting interesting. So let's open those up, and I'm using Notepad++. Choose your text editor of choice. I recommend making sure you use one that has syntax highlighting. So if I'm a Windows user, it's Notepad++ for me, and you can see there it's highlighting in the different color schemes. I'm just going to drag this button block across because I want to keep this in the order, the button block, block PHP, then block options, because that's the order in which we want to name these files. Now these blocks have basics. I've created these for you to make, and I use these myself. These create the template, the building code, if you like, on building your plugin, your block, and I've added some basic comments in here to get started. So working in, as I said, that Headway button block, let's name our block. So we'll call this Headway button block. Now this file here is the WordPress plugin. So this file here works exclusively with the WordPress side of things. This is not the Headway side of things. And I'm using the johnmethod.info website to demonstrate this block. We're just going to change these, add animated buttons to your Headway site. Version 1. I'm creating this, so this will be my name. You can change these to whatever you want, and I'm going to have this available for you to download for free on my headwaythemesextend.com. Now on there I've got a call to action block, and I will actually be adding these buttons to my call to action block if you happen to be using one of those. Okay, so now we've named our WordPress plugin. Let's have a look. So define. So here you can see it says defines your block version for updates. It's only required if it gets used in Headway Extend. So on Headway you've got to submit it to Headway Themes for evaluation. They evaluate it and they'll either approve it or they won't to their extent. And to push out updates, it needs this line of code here. So if you are going to submit this, you will need to have this on there. If you're not going to be submitting this, then you don't need to have that line of code at all. So we'll just name that though, Headway button block version 1. Okay, so here we want to it says change the register your block name to a name more relative to your block. So we're going to add an action that after it's set up theme, it's going to register. It's going to call the function register your block. So we'll call this Headway button block, and then this is the function here. So we'll just double click on. Oops, can't type that. Double click on that, copy it, double click on that, and paste it so it's exactly the same. So add action after it sets up a theme, Headway theme. It's going to register the Headway button block. It's going to call that function, and here's the function. So in that function, if the class exists Headway, it requires block PHP, which we've got those files there, block options PHP. So if you do not include these blocks, it will break your site, so you've got to make sure they are included. Then if the class exists Headway block API, if it doesn't, it's going to return false. But if the Headway block API does exist, then it's going to register our block, and we're going to call that Headway button block. Okay, so that's that first page set up. That's all we have to do in this PHP file. In fact, that's it. We will not be touching this PHP file in this tutorial again. But what we want to do is just copy that. So double click and copy, and we're going to jump into our block PHP. Change the class name to match the register block name on line 27. So we copy that, and we want to change that to class to match line 27, which is why we copied that before. Now in the block PHP, this is what you will see in Headway on the front end. So this is the visual editor element, and this is also the website, what you'll see in the site. And in the public name and the public ID, this is what you will see when you go to choose your block in the design. So we're going to call this Headway button block. And we'll call this button block. We'll call that button block. So when you go to draw your block, you'll see the name button block. And we want to copy that, which we copied before off line 27, and we want to just highlight that. We want to leave the options at the end, and we want to paste that in there. Then we want to copy that, and we're going to save that block file. For now, that's all we're going to work out, because we want to create a working plugin and a working block, but at this stage, it's just not going to do anything. So then we're going to go over to our block options here, and we're going to paste what we just copied in, and that's all we have to do. So change the class to match the class in your block PHP file, so that class there. So we can hit save, and we've saved all our files. you know what? That is it. That is all we need to do to create a working plugin / block for Headway Themes. Won't do anything, but let's test it out. So we'll go in, we'll highlight all of those, and I'm using Windows, as I said before, so you want to create a zip file. So how you do that in your operating system, whether it be Windows, Mac, Linux, you'll have to work that one out yourself. And then we've got to rename that to Headway button / block. Now, whatever you name your zip file, that's what the folder is on the server. So that's the folder that all these files will rest in. So under your WP / content plugins, this is the folder that it will create. So let's head over to my website and let's go in and test this plugin. So let's upload it, choose our file, choose that zip file we just created, install now. Let's activate the plugin. And there we go. It's all working. We can see there that's the JobMather Visit plugin site. So that's pulling all this information here off these top lines. And if we go into our, we've got that loaded. Let's just refresh this here. So we're now in our grid mode. Let's use an empty grid. Let's draw our block. And there's our button block. You can see the image there, and it's called button block. So that's pulling the button block is the name there. And the image is the icons that were downloaded as part of my template. We're going to change that in the upcoming video. So I'm going to show you how you can create your own icons really simply. But that's where that's drawing that information from. So let's choose our button block. So when we choose our block, so it's it's naming it button block. That's because I've called it block there, and it automatically adds block. If we didn't, we could just go choose a buttons, and that would then become buttons block. It wouldn't go button block, if that makes sense. So I might change that for the upcoming videos. But you can see there's a config tab there and an import export tab there. They are in there by default through Headway, so we don't have to create to mirror blocks or anything like that. That automatically does it. And for importing, exporting these settings, Headway automatically takes that through the block options API. So that's one less thing. But you can see there's the tabs, and you can get some ideas that when we work in the block options file, because that is where we work with all the grid mode back end. That's where we will create the tabs. And that's where we will do the inputs for all the settings on the tabs. And that's where we're going to be working in for our next video. So that takes care of configuring and setting up your very first plugin Headway theme. Of course, it doesn't do anything, as I've said, but we have the basics, we have the building blocks, mind the pun, all in place. So I hope you enjoyed this quick video, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks for watching. This is John Mather. Thanks very much.